speech, and he goes, 30 to 40 minutes. Okay, I know what to do tonight then. I'm gonna be writing a speech. Luckily it said no keys, no slides, so yeah, I'm not gonna be bad for not preparing anything. Anyone else that's left outside?
No.
Okay, amazing. All right, guys, so with that, welcome to our weekly Q&A. As always, feel free to ask absolutely anything you want, whether it's about residency, cedula, taxes, RUC, LLCs, banking, crypto, investments in Paraguay, how to settle here, lifestyle in Paraguay, real estate, whatever it is, I'm happy to take your questions about it. And as always, I think we can start front to back, left to right, and there's gonna be the microphone that Lucas has in the hand to ask for the questions.
Actually, I have 3 questions more to.
Okay, just to listen?
Yeah.
Nice, amazing. You want to pass it back, maybe to our friend there? Yeah. Welcome.
Yeah, here to listen to honest.
Oh, amazing. You want to pass it back then?
Anyone? No question.
Dates that I wanted to give. I know also many people who have already applied for the cedula follows our Q&As. And so apparently today a lot of informes of ours got ready. That's something that I'm pretty happy about. I also wanted to tell you a little bit about my trip to Ciudad del Este on Monday, and since there are some important information. So Monday I met at 9 a.m. here in Asuncion with the people who process the informes for everyone but Argentinians and Brazilians. And then about Argentinians and Brazilians, they are only processed in Ciudad del Este. So I was there in the afternoon. Around 4 p.m. is when I met with the people who do the informes for the tripartito, which is Paraguay, Argentina, Brazil. There are some interesting news, like the backlog they have. They said that they are supposed to go through it in a month. So a month from now, they expect that they're gonna be processing the informes of people who are applying for the cedula at that time, and not like 6 months before that. Fortunately, we don't have like very long dated cases. It's after the 10th of October, when the new people have arrived, that it became, of course, slower. When the new people, meaning the new plantel, the new team of identificaciones, everyone got changed, right? So from the top level, which is the jefa de extranjeros, who used to be a man, now she's a woman, the subjefe, all the commissaries, and then even the low-level police officers, like the guy who stays at the box and everyone else, they all got changed. And these new people started requiring this informe, which is they ask your country if you have any pending cases with justice. As most countries, like Italy, for instance, is an example, Brazil is an example, the US is an example. There's many countries in which your criminal record certificate only mentions the cases that you have already been sentenced for, and it doesn't mention the open cases that you're being investigated for. And this is really the deal that they explained to me. Like, what they want to make sure is that you have no pending cases with justice. Another very interesting thing that I knew about this informe is that it's non-binding. So basically, they ask this information, and then when they got a reply, which can be, yeah, the guy is super clean, or the guy has this thing going, still, if he has something going, it's on the identificaciones department, not on the people who process the informe, to decide whether or not they get a cedula. Luckily, we don't have problems with our clients in terms of pending cases, but it's just to say that it's not even binding, so it's even more stupid than I thought, honestly, as a system. But with that said, we are now taking steps every single day. Well, today not really, because today they were all over the place because of this new update. If you guys have seen the group, the important updates group, they are changing to a new fingerprint system, which is a definitely good deal. I don't know if to any of you happened, but sometimes we had to fingerprint people more than once because the fingerprints would just end up poorly in the informatics system. And so we had to call people back to get re-fingerprinted, generally on the following day or in the afternoon, if we got notified that some of the fingerprints didn't come out correct. Anyways, this is the news mostly about the trip. So the Ciudad del Este guys, about Argentina and Brazil, they said that they have 2 people taking care of the informes. And curiously, Brazilians and Argentinians are the one who are the fastest to get the cedula. So in a place where they only have 2 people, and Paraguay is not Paraguay pathways. So when it comes to Paraguay as a country, 95% of the applications are from Argentinians and Brazilians. Now, our reality is different, but it's to say just 5 to 10% of the applications are not from Argentina and Brazil. And in the very big place where they get processed, I don't know if they just devote themselves to that thing, but there is a jefe, which means there must be some people below him, because if there's a boss, there must be someone below. They only get 5 to 10% of the people, and they are slow as fuck. So I understand the backlog, and I understand the fact that it takes time before they go through everybody, but at the same time, the good news that they said is that at the pace at which they are going, they should be over the backlog quite soon. They also explained to us who asked the informe, who replies to the informe, and how the seguimiento is done. So if one asks, but then there is no reply, who is the person in charge of being like, hey mate, what happened to this one? Like, did you forget to reply? Did you find something that's wrong, or what's going on? So now we know exactly who and where is in charge of doing this type of follow-ups. And that should be pretty good. Honestly, on our side, we're happy about it because at least now we have mapped out the whole system. And tomorrow we want to know who is in the new informes that supposedly have come out today. And they promised tomorrow 10 cedulas. Let's see if we actually get the 10 cedulas tomorrow. Generally, when they say Thursday, that means Thursday they're going to say that they are at the factory. Then Friday that they are about to come, and then Monday is when you actually get to see the cedulas. But let's see. I mean, there's a bigger chance now that they actually deliver on their promise, because I think over the last few weeks, as we were saying yesterday in the group, the amount of cedulas they were able to issue per week has been increasing consistently. And if a big chunk of informes have come out today, that means that next week and the following week, we should have a significant amount in cedulas issued. I don't know how they plan to cope with all the backlog they have, because if there are like 200 people applying and 10 cedulas getting out every day, that means that at the end of the day, maybe the informe people will eventually sort out their backlog, but the identificaciones people and the cedula backlog just keeps growing stronger. And that is what I've realized throughout the last week, is that the informe is 50% of the problem. It's not 100% of the problem. The informe takes a lot of time, especially initially when they had the whole backlog. Now it's relatively okay in terms of timeline. But even when the informe is ready, the time they take to actually match that with the documents, approve the case, send the cedula to the factory, have it printed, delivered back, and then delivered to the person, is actually significant. It's the other 50% of the problem. Now, on the positive side of this news, we know that a lot of the cases are in exact places, right? The identificaciones, they keep our folders in a place. So it should be quite easy to identify where the documents are. As the days progress, we keep finding more things, and we're able to separate them from the chaos. And that's pretty much it on the informe side, which is, for those who haven't followed up much during recent weeks, the new entry frame that's been in place since the 10th of October that's delaying the time in delivering the cedulas. Even though supposedly the people who got the most affected are the ones who applied right when it was created, and then as it went through, they became a bit more fast in delivering that. So now we don't see so many problems with the informe in terms of timeline, but more so when the informe is ready to actually process the cedula. We know about the informes that were released on the 9th, 12th, 13th, and 14th of February, and only 6 people have the cedula. So that means that there is a 16 days timeline at least before, after the informe, you are getting the cedula at the current speed at which they're going. Let's see if they get a little bit more efficient, and if when the informe backlog is over, the people at Identificaciones also start getting through their backlog, matching the informes with the documents and starting to issue the cedula, and the situation reverses back to normal in time for the next change of the team that is going to create the next wave of chaos, right? That is pretty much the updates we have on that. Hopefully some of the guys who are watching the video who are waiting for their cedulas are happy to hear some news. I guess overall, tomorrow I will meet again with the people from Identificaciones every Thursday at 4 p.m. So I go there and submit our complaints once again. Well, Nick goes there literally every day, the whole day. So he's a new member of Identificaciones to some extent now. When he goes there, everyone knows him. That's pretty funny. And that's it about the most relevant news we have with that. Other news that are not concerning the cedulas, fortunately, are the move is finally done. We are at the new White House in the center. Hopefully you guys get the chance to visit us soon. We keep the offices at World Trade Center, but the office in the center is being restructured to a new house that's hosting all the teams there, minus the media team. And with that, it's pretty cool because we have the possibility to make the teams work better together. So sometimes some of you experience the fact that you would text our WhatsApp and maybe they would take time to reply to your message because maybe the WhatsApp guys had to ask the accounting guys, the client's asking me this, what should I tell him? The guy from accounting had to reply, and then we could finally reply to the original message. When people are at a distance, this is slower. But now that they are all together, you send a message, the person just walks to the other room and is like, hey mate, just received this message, what should I say? The accounting team goes, checks and says, oh yes, bam, bam. And so the customer service team can reply to you. So luckily we've seen a big reduction in elaborating complex messages or emails. So not the ones that are more basic about what should I do on this, on that, but like regarding my tax filing of last November, what about this invoice? You know, like, so the customer service team has to actually pull the data from the accounting team. And that has become seriously more efficient now with the restructuring every residency, customer success, accounting and legal all under the same roof, made things definitely quicker on that side. And that's also a nice colonial house that I'd like to invite you guys to at some point, also to see what goes behind the scenes of Paraguay Pathways, how paperworks are done. And I don't know, it's kind of nice. We have created this like Ford production system for paperwork where everything moves from station to station, operation after operation. And it's all archived in a very nice way. I'm very happy about what we were able to create in terms of logistics and operations in the new office. But going back to maybe having any questions, I would like to know if you have doubts about the Informe thing we just said, because maybe to some of you it was new. Maybe after getting this update, some of you has got some interesting doubts or observations. Otherwise, I would say if we have no questions, I would say let's avoid the big speech by me, since I have another one tomorrow. Welcome.
Thank you.
Or maybe, what's your name, sorry?
Henrik.
Henrik, would you like to ask a question, since you just came?
Sorry, what did you say?
Maybe you have any questions to ask?
No, I'm just glad to be here.
Okay, amazing. Welcome.
I was watching your live in the taxi, so I got a little bit of.
Okay, amazing, amazing. Who is Team Europe here? Team Europe, 1, 2. Okay, half is Team Europe. Team North America? Okay. Team South America? All right. Team Asia doesn't look very present, does it? All right.
We have questions from the chat.
Oh, thanks, yeah.
Okay, first one. If you're living in Paraguay, haven't got your cédula or residency card yet, at what stage do you set your tax declarations up to declare the minimum wage monthly, you're bringing in from the LLC?
Yeah, it's actually very easy. You can't declare anything until you have a RUC. So the RUC is your key to tax filings in Paraguay. For the RUC, you need to have the cédula. And there was this idea in place to have the admisión temporaria, the residency card, as a sufficient tool to open the RUC, but it was never implemented. So at the end of the day, you still need the cédula to be able to open the RUC, and you need the RUC to be able to file tax filings. So unfortunately, until you have at least the residencia precaria, which is the one that they give you at Migración as soon as you apply for residency, you are considered a tourist. Once you have the residencia precaria, you still cannot apply for a cédula. You need to wait for the residency card. And after you have the residency card and then the cédula, you can open the RUC, and at that point, be fully considered a tax resident, and at that point, you can start filing all your taxes.
Thank you. And the next one, could you please inform me of the most recent application date for a Brazilian applicant whose cédula has already been issued?
Yeah.
I have been waiting for over 70 days and have not yet received any.
Yes, the thing is that unfortunately when it comes to the tripartido, Brazil and Argentina, the chronological order, and actually also not for, this goes for everyone, not just for the tripartido, but mostly for the tripartido, the chronological order doesn't matter. Because we have, for instance, we have a client who applied in November, and then he recommended our service to a friend who applied early January. The guy who applied in early January already has the cédula, like fastest cédula ever. And the guy who applied in December doesn't have the cédula yet. Same goes for cases of husband and wife, of which one has had the cédula for a month, and the wife doesn't have the cédula yet. This is way more random than you think, because here is what happens. You have two things. About the informe, there are lists of people. This list is made, so, okay, the Asesoría Jurídica en Identificaciones makes a name. Okay. Hello, welcome. Welcome. They make a list and they say, okay, this guy with this last name, this guy with this last name, this guy with this last name, and then the passport numbers beside, and then they send it over to the informe people. The informe people will produce a report, assuming they go check, nothing there, no problem, the list is short, because some lists have like all 8 names, and some lists have got 35. So short list, no one has anything, like they check it very rapidly, they can submit it back to Identificaciones, boom, it goes. 35 names on the list, they see that one maybe has something, maybe not, but it's something that we should check better later. So it goes to a separate side where it's like complicated cases, but they can't reply partially. So they have to reply to every list as a whole. And this, in certain cases, creates a lot of friction, because one guy who maybe has something on Google saying that he has a bad reputation somewhere for doing some weird stuff, or is connected to some results that are in countries that Paraguay does not like, will cause all the names on that informes to be set aside until they can actually go deep dive into that guy and process the case. But for what we've been not told directly, but they made us clearly understand that they cannot block 100 people for one. So those cases, as they keep having a backlog of like a big chunk of people who are dated back long ago, they are still there. They are still waiting kind of indefinitely, and it's the lists who are fast, who move. Second thing, after the informe, what happens in Identificaciones? So in Identificaciones, they may have your documents right there, knowing exactly where they are. Maybe they got stored more diligently. No problem, it goes. Sometimes also consider that they have no archives. You go and all the floor, the sofa, every single place where they can put stuff is full of folders, okay, everywhere. You don't see on top of the folder like cases from A to B or like from this day to this day. It's just folders, 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 everywhere. So it's very hard to look for folders. And this is why when the informe comes, that matching is taking a lot of time. And then after that, you still have the signature of the jefa, which, depending on her predisposition, if she's at the office, if she's not, whatever goes, and then you have the factory. But the factory is generally fast, and also from the factory back to Identificaciones for the delivery, that is fast. Like when a cédula is at the factory, you can be like, okay, that's done. If it's not today, it's tomorrow or the day after, but it's done. So the chronological order, unfortunately, doesn't make much sense. When it comes to the seguimiento, also we were saying before, of the informes, and this is another problem, very, very common with informe, which causes also some cases to go sidelined. We've seen about the requests of informes of our clients, many wrong names. So the spelling was wrong. When they receive the request for informe and they check and the passport doesn't match, they have to sideline the case and then ask again what goes on with that. So that is a very common problem. Finally, the seguimiento. So the informe gets requested. Cool. At that point, either the guy who does the follow-ups actually takes care of doing the follow-up, but if they don't care, it's gonna stay there until eventually. If the guy does the follow-ups, goes like, this is important, we need it, then it gets prioritized. And that's supposedly what is happening now, since all of a sudden, since we started meeting daily, going, asking, presenting, chatting, flying even, now all of a sudden, a lot of informes of our clients are ready, right? So apparently there is, like the position of your list inside the pile of informe requests is pretty important in terms of timeline, and it's not chronological, certainly not chronological, has a lot of incongruences, and generally, like, easiest countries are on the same list. So Germany, Switzerland, Germany, Switzerland, Germany, Switzerland, they form a list, they send. Another may have Canada, 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 US, 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 India. Boom, that Indian guy is gonna set you back 2 months. Same goes if there is a French person. We did actually receive French cedulas way faster than other countries, but apparently, for what we've been told, it's purely coincidence. It doesn't make any sense, and it's not supposed to be like that. Generally, they said French cases take longer. Why? Because their words, French has got a Muslim Muslim invasion, and so we need to check each and every single case. But for all of these, they actually confirm that once a week, on average, they catch some narco or some terrorist who had applied for the document. So it's not even to their point where it's like, we've implemented this informe, but it's completely useless. Let's get rid of it. No, like they keep finding reasons for doing the informe, which is a bit unfortunate, honestly, because like generally after, some time you see delays, backlog growing, let's get rid of this system, it's probably not the case. But if they keep finding cases, they're gonna keep doing this until maybe the type of people will understand the cedulas don't come out, they stop applying, and after they see clean cases for some time, they change approach. But at least after Monday, now we know who does the tracking and the follow-ups. So hopefully they can keep following up fast. Certainly tomorrow when I get to know who and how many of our clients received the informe today, I'm gonna be pretty happy to share that information and to see if it's actually a result of the meetings we just had. On our side, we keep working very hard to put pressure on all the many parts of this process and finding bottlenecks and going to talk with the person causing the bottleneck. Please proceed, but hey, if this week we get the other 10 cedulas, then it's going to be 16 for a week. It's going to be 4 weeks all-time high. And previously we were getting pretty much the old ones of people who had applied before the chaos was made. So yeah, it's I think it's going to be maybe 2 to 3 weeks before this, like after a meeting, they say, okay, I'll help you. But this sets in motion the fact that, okay, we got to look for the paperwork, we got to look for the informes, we got to look for the request of the informes. So it takes time before you can see the effect of it. It's not like they can help you like this. And being interdepartmental, there's not like one guy who is the big switch, that if the guy says, this guy will receive the cedula, like the only way would actually be to talk with the factory directly, but that means the cedula is completely fake, or at least it's completely unofficial. So there is no like big dog. There is the big dog of identificaciones, but he cannot touch the informe side. Then there is the two big dogs of the informes, the one here and the guy in Ciudad del Este. And now we've been talking with all of them, with the sub guys, etc., day by day, day by day, day by day. We've been seeing the results already. I hope in the next 2 or 3 weeks it keeps growing. So from 0 to 3 to 10 to 16 to 35 to 50 until we sort out the backlog. Again, taking their word for it, it should have been 40 days since last Thursday. But it's also true that the previous meeting they had said 10 to 15 days. So we can't really trust them on that, but the trajectory looks pretty solid. Yeah, where's the mic? Oh, Nastya, can you pass him the mic? Nas? Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
I have a question. How are you doing? I'm off.
I think it's turned off.
Is it? I can't hear myself.
Yeah, no, yes.
And I have a question about, so let's say myself, I've temporary residency going on right now until June 26th, 27. And at the moment, I'm working on investing in the company, so I'm wondering if putting in 7K and getting a temporary permanent residency right now at any advantage instead of just waiting and the process to get it.
I would definitely not do it now, honestly. Because the reality is that before, it was also already something that I would discourage. Because there is a moment in which you are completely a tourist again. Because you can't upgrade straight. You renounce temporary residency and apply for permanent residency. But the moment you apply for permanent, you have to already have renounced temporary. So when you apply for permanent, you are back at ground zero, in a certain sense. You get your permanent residency in a month, the timeline for the residency cards is still good, healthy, no problems. But then, the moment you apply for the cedula, now it's definitely higher, at least for what we've been seeing, than before. Now, let's say it's even just like before, and it takes another month. So 1 month for the residency, 1 month for the cedula. That's 2 months. If you're looking to, well, you said June 26, right? So March 26, March 27. March 27, you're already able to convert because it's 3 months prior to the expiration. If you do it now, considering FEB is almost over, you're gonna be, say, March 1st, you will have to regather your documents because your criminal record certificate is expired. That's gonna take some time. Let's say March 15th, you've already got your new document and you apply, and your best case scenario with the regular timelines we were seeing before this delay, you're in at mid-May before you have the new cedula. You saved 7 months, 8 months, but with the 2 months in which you were nothing, you were a tourist, in which you cannot have anything to your name, company, whatever, so that blocks your investments for 2 months. And if the informe people don't actually go through the backlog as fast as they're thinking, and it takes 1 extra month, or 6 weeks, or 8 weeks, that's gonna hold you back from executing on your investment for an indefinite amount of time. That's, I think, like, entrepreneurially speaking, I would say that if you are already in the process of investing and building your company, having that setback would be kind of a big inefficiency, 3 months blocked without the possibility to do anything, or 2 in the best case.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Guys, since you just, oh yeah, sure. I also wanted to ask the guys who just arrived because they, I don't know, they didn't have the chance to ask for a question, but go ahead, mate. Go ahead, mate.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the new housing project?
The San Martino one that's already under construction, or the next one?
The There is already sold out.
Yeah. About the next one, so our idea with Diego is that around 4 weeks from now, we shall be able to present a new one. We wanted to space it so that, first of all, we can, when this one is completed, which is going to be, I don't know what is the current stages of today, but as of last week, they were roofing the houses already. So it's going to be a month and a half to finish the project. At least the first units. You remember that they are, that there are groups of units, ones that are ready immediately, the ones that are ready 1 week later, the ones that are ready 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, and so on, until the whole project is completed. So our idea was to give us a little bit of time to finish all the houses and sell all the houses before already starting the new project. So because of that timeline, last week, we called each other and said 1 month from now. So there are 2 plots that are now being investigated for being the ones, right? One that is 22 and one that is 25 possible homes hosted on it. So it's gonna step up the size by 75% compared to the last project. I'm also very happy of having received finally the wire transfer from the investment in the first San Marino. It's nice when you actually get to see the bank delivering the money. So I'm also looking forward to it because so far I'm just keeping the Guarani right there on the bank account looking for the next project. And I'm also quite eager to not lose time because every month lost is month less of, let's say, the annualized rate of return decreases by 8% every month you wait. So don't want to be waiting, Yeah, hopefully one of the 2 goes through. Of course, the due diligence is what is undergoing now with the 2 plots. One, we are kind of certain that it's not gonna go through because it's been 2 weeks since we requested a document that never arrived, and it's a problem with inheritance, basically. Like the title is not 100% clear due to these inheritance problems. It's just like a weird, anyway, inheritance problem. But like the land is actually owned by a person who inherited it on paper, but in the will of the guy who died, this person would inherit this land. But at the same time, this official registration at the cadastro, which is the municipality, has not been done. And we can't even ask for them to do it because it's going to be done in a useless timeline. It takes at least 6 months for that to happen. So they said that they were already seeing, that they will be able to provide the document, that they had to fly. Looks to me like they are trying to see if any of their contacts can help them expedite this process, get the documents to sell us the land, but don't think that's gonna fly. So this first one with the 21 units, with the 22 units, that we had also seen with some guys in Luca. It was a very cool one with 3 streets surrounding it. I don't think it's going to go through. And then there is this second one, who is 1 unit bigger, that I have not seen yet, but Diego has seen it 2 or 3 weeks ago now. I'd have to check. And due to this whole chaos with the cedulas, I've been always running behind some police officer to ask what's up, what's going on. And I didn't have the time yet to visit it, but I'd be pretty keen to, next week, I would say, already go and visit. Because tomorrow I have the meeting with Identificaciones, and whatever we say is supposed to start taking effects on Friday. So generally Friday was the day of our real estate tours. Now Friday is the follow-up day of the meeting with the Identificaciones on Thursday. But I would say that I'm pretty confident that at this stage we've mapped out the whole thing. There is nothing more we shall do other than, okay, tomorrow I go and say, hey, I've spoken with the Informe people, they told me this and that, and so do this and that, please. After that, there is literally no more person involved with the whole system. So next week, I'm pretty certain that we can already go and see the plot that Diego is discussing. In the meantime, I was waiting for him to do the due diligence, because sometimes going seeing a plot of land without the due diligence, you go and waste time, because then it's not doable. So yeah, I'll also call him when we finish, because I'm eager to know if he has any updates on this bigger one or the other one. But the other one, my gut feeling is that it's not going to move through.
Okay.
Cheers.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your background and why you came to Paraguay?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, I was an SEO specialist. I was doing search engine optimization. I had some websites doing affiliate marketing for trading, especially. So we would write like heaps of articles about trading platforms, trading apps, demo accounts, and whatnot, all in Italian, and trying to position as many websites as possible and get the referral fees from the brokerages. So full online, I started when I was in my last year of university, and then when I finished university, I decided to, well, I didn't decide it. Like I remember getting called by the accountant. He told me that I had to pay 12,000 euros, which was like an insane amount for my back in the day economy. But it's not a trivial amount anyways. And I was like, nah, man, like this is just fucked, you know, like this is, like I don't know how people accept this. It's completely irrational. It's like 40% of my business to the government. This, like, how do people even get along with this? Well, I said, okay, I always wanted to be a digital nomad, just wanted to finish university. So I took my first trip. I was in Santorini for a month, which is another stupid decision because it gets boring real fast, honestly. Then I started touring a little bit Europe, like some places I wanted to go. And I decided to come and do the residency in Paraguay. Back in the day, it was much different. You deposited $5,000 in a bank account. You got the permanent residency immediately. So think of that. Now you struggle to create a bank account. Back in the day, you would just have to show up. You must show up and open a bank account. And then after you get the permanent residency, you could even withdraw the money and just let the account empty. Anyway, that's what I did. Hit, go, started traveling again, went around South America, went to Brazil, met my wife. Yeah, that's pretty much what happened. Then a couple things were pushing me back to Paraguay. First, the pandemic. I had a lot of travel restriction. I was in Madeira when that happened. I stayed in Madeira in Portugal. Then I understood that it was just very, very problematic because I was about to become a tax resident. I could fly out only to 2 countries, Italy for being a citizen or Portugal for being a resident. I said, okay, if I go to Italy and then they have it even worse than here, and then I get to become a tax resident again in Italy, like I'm screwed again. And then I decided to come back to Paraguay, stay 1 month, 1.5 months, and travel again, travel to Brazil. That's when actually I met Manu. Stayed in Brazil, went to Colombia with Manu. We met 3 weeks before. I decided to invite her to travel with me. We went to Santa Marta, to Cartagena. Then I stayed a month in Medellin because I had no more days in Brazil. Went back to Brazil, thought I had 90 days, stayed 84 days, got fined because I actually had like 6 left. I didn't do my math properly. They charged me like $1 per day, so it wasn't too bad. But like I had a 10-minute moment at the airport in which I was like, this is the end of me. I'm never gonna be able to get back here. My girlfriend's here, what am I gonna do? Luckily, I paid the fine, they were happy again, and came back to Paraguay. And that's when actually Paraguay Pathway started. Then, in the beginning, I was back and forth, like Paraguay, Brazil, Paraguay, Brazil, Paraguay, Brazil. Then I decided to take an easier way out. So instead of the federal, super serious university Manu was doing, would have taken another 2 years, I said, what about this nice private university here that lets you study online? And, and that's exactly what we did. So 1 year later, she graduated, moved steadily to Paraguay with me, started working in Paraguay Pathways, I guess 2 months later. And then came everyone. Then came Karen, then came Franco, then came Elias, then came Hugo, Isma, Kike, Natalie, who's not there anymore. The accounting team in general started back then. Oh, yeah. Then it was the beginning of the cooperation with Nicolo and Brian. That brought in the media team, new people at Faro as well, the customer success team, the sales. actually the sales and the customer success team. And that's pretty much how we get to today. I mean, new entries like Hannibal, who's a great video maker. Anthony, who you guys probably have met if you have if you had him as a driver. Great guy from Venezuela who's doing great job. Andrews and a few Fabricios. Now we have like 5 or 6 Fabricios in the company. When you talk about Fabricio, no one understands who are you actually referring to. And yeah, now we are. Rumors have it it's 45, but it's like every day it can be like 43, 47. We never know, you know. There are teams, especially the marketing team, which like I never know actually who's there, who's not. I'm always in the operational side. Oh well, Marlene we forgot in the legal team. But yeah, that is pretty much the background of how we got to Paraguay. My foreseeable future is definitely in Paraguay. Honestly, the only thing that has me like there a little bit is, I think one thing, Italy, I guess Europe in general, still has it much better than here, even if you pay private, is education. So one day I don't know, I'd like, I don't know, high school or whatever, my kids to study in Italy, because I think that overall it's just...
Homeschooling.
Yeah. But I need to find an Italian teacher. Yeah, I don't know, it's cool, you know, they would know Latin and Greek and stuff, and just history of art and design and all these things we get to study in high school. Where here it's way more practical and, you know, like more applied, but it's 2 different approaches. I don't know, I like the fact that right there, they, like until you become 16, 17, you're just immersed in this like literature and ancient cultures and stories from Julius Caesar and whatnot. You know, it's nice. I think the Forma Mentis it gives you is a bit more open and wide and makes your mind more elastic. But for the foreseeable future, I'm very happy to be here. I think also the next 20, maybe 25 years are gonna be the good ones in Paraguay. Like the real economic boom is happening right now. Hope you guys have seen that now. Yesterday, Paraguay was able to issue $1 billion in bonds for the first time pretty much in their history. Half of it, about $500 million, is gonna go for the Tren de Cercanía, which is like a subway, but it actually runs above ground. And that's gonna connect Luque all the way to the center. And that is a big project. I don't know how it happened, but they're gonna pay an Emirati company for that. I thought word was like the Emiratis generally call people from other countries to build shit, but apparently they've learned. And the other half is gonna go mainly towards infrastructure. So I'm quite eager to know what's gonna happen with that, what's gonna happen also with the restructuring of the Centro, the whole renovation they're doing. What's going to happen with the new bridges they've opened and the new hidrovia that they have completely cleared the path for more boats to be able to pass through. The Corredor Bioceánico, which is this transatlantic route that goes from the Pacific to the Atlantic, Brazil to Chile, crossing Paraguay in the middle. That's going to go for having export and import access to the Pacific more easily, you know, without dealing with the Andes. So there's a lot coming to Paraguay that is pretty exciting. Well, the World Cup in 2030, it's gonna be another interesting event. And I think most people who come here are still not valuing enough the opportunities in the country. They can see the surface, which I think is the tax residency. But then if I look at my friends who have actually stayed committed to something like our friend is doing, of doing something locally, trust me, it's very hard to fail. Like, it's very hard to fail. You gotta be extremely incompetent. And that's the background story. Now tell us about you.
Do you have a day? Here's my other Dutch friend. He has a lot of questions.
Hey, leave me out of it.
Wake up, man.
I'm not sleeping, never.
So, a question to our Dutch friend. How is Verstappen looking for this season?
Bitcoin, does it work? Yeah. Bitcoin mining, is there any opportunities?
Not really, because in the past it used to be, but now the government has regulated it in a way where Bitcoin miners pay extra for electricity, to the point where it doesn't really make sense. Now, in the past, they used to go to Villarrica, because the whole country is served by only one company, which is called ANDE. And that's the electricity company that's going to have the invoices of everyone in the country, other than this one city called Villarrica, right in the middle of Paraguay, that has something going to it, which is like completely different accent. And the other thing they have is this different electricity company, which only exists there. And they used to allow you to build transformation stations. Because what was the problem with Bitcoin mining? You need a different wattage and voltage than the regular grid. So that type of infrastructure to change the tension of the electricity is not allowed by the ANDE. This other company in Villarrica used to allow it and used to give kind of, not subsidized, but convenient prices for electricity to bring the Bitcoin mining there. I actually remember this Colombian friend who studied in Germany and brought here a big German mining company. He used to work for them, and he was in charge of the local operations here. Since he was Colombian, they sent him over when they opened in Paraguay. They stayed, they invested 8 million euros, and they stayed for like 2 years, 3 years. When the government raised the electricity prices, they went away. And they didn't raise it for everyone. Just the Bitcoin mining operations, they have to be declared, and you pay something like 60% more for the electricity. On the contrary, there is a lot of illegal Bitcoin mining, which is undeclared, and generally they don't even pay the normal electricity rates. They just connect to the grid somewhere in the middle of nowhere where it's hard to spot them. I don't suggest you do that.
Of course not.
But that's
But you have the
certainly
context for that.
Yeah?
It's not advisable, but you have the context for that. Okay. No more questions.
Yeah, another thing that I would say is that Bitcoin mining, even back when it wasn't so problematic, used to make sense only depending on how you did the accounting. Because the accounting, if you were like, okay, this is what we spend for the electricity, this is what we make in Bitcoins, it looked like you were making a lot of money. But if you had this thing of like, this is how fast our mining rigs are depreciating, because like in 2 years we have to throw them away, that was definitely operating at a loss. Like at least this German company never turned a profit, even when the government wasn't raising prices for the electricity. By the way, a lot of blackouts in that time. Like I remember 2023, you had 2 blackouts a day. And this is because like all the electricity was going towards the Bitcoin miners. But we had everyone here, like NASDAQ listed companies were in Paraguay. In Ciudad del Este, they used to do this Bitcoin mining conference once a year in September. And it used to gather all the big players in the space, like all the speeches, and everyone was from listed companies around the world. It was super serious. Then as fast as it came, it went away.
Yes, but if you mine yourself, you get the cleanest Bitcoin. So the method you suggest is dirty, but you get the cleanest Bitcoin.
Yeah, I guess. There is a project, though, to do something extremely similar, but for some reason the government loves this. Like, they didn't like the Bitcoin mining, but the government loves this, which is data centers and AI data centers and hosting, which is the same thing. Like, at the end of the day, it's turning electricity into something extremely similar. And it's just basically one input, which is electricity, and one output, which is a digital service. But at the end of the day, for some reason, whether it's because they think it's more productive for society, whether it's because they think that they can generate more jobs, for sure, because I would say Bitcoin mining is really not aligned with the idea of generating jobs, which is what is the government trying to attract here. Data centers tend to pull already some more talented people from all over, because you have more system engineering to do, which is kind of more technical, and so generates a bit more jobs. Or simply because at the end of the day, the AI race in this moment defines a lot of the geopolitical status of a country. So they're quite eager to bring here Amazon Web Services and all the Microsoft Azure and all the other players in the space for cloud and AI. Mostly.
Yeah, but okay, that's big. That simply starts.
Yeah, and then the partnership with Taiwan is pretty strong. So considering all the chips came from NVIDIA, it's like Taiwan may be like, yeah, we wouldn't mind you placing a few data centers here. That means someone's gonna buy our GPUs.
The only serious option is cheap energy. Then you can have an advantage. If they block that, then it's difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah. Surprise for you.
I don't really have any questions.
I'll go again, Ali. And for the real estate thing, let's say I turn it into like an income generating project.
Yeah.
Do you strongly suggest to do it through an LLC or simply as a RU? Because for me, I don't operate a business. Let's say I only live from international capital gains, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
And for now, my LLC is, for your words, pretty much useless or not really something necessary.
Mm-hmm.
But with this, let's say I'll buy units here and I do it through Active, which would be Airbnb managed and everything. Would you suggest doing that through?
No.
Would there be an advantage?
No, because your LLC is considered as a foreign company, so you'd be taxed more. You pay, for instance, VAT on sales. Like I sold a house, I didn't have to pay VAT. If I was a foreigner, I would have to. There's withholding taxes and all sorts of crap if you're a foreigner without a local document investing in real estate. So I definitely don't suggest you do that. Doing it with the RUC is smarter on each side, not only because it's tax advantageous in Paraguay, but also because if you do it here and then you want to bank the money that comes from your Airbnb operations, having it declared in your RUC means actually you can go to the bank, show the statement saying, okay, I've declared this money in my RUC, and the bank is going to allow you to deposit that money. It's going to build your credit score in Paraguay. It's going to allow you to access better bank accounts and credit cards, loans, mortgages, which are very useful if you're a real estate investor, because you generally want to be able to have leverage. So I would say it's not a great idea to operate through the LLC for local real estate. It's definitely better to go for the RUC. And then with that, I would suggest to be kind of very skeptical when you invest on an Airbnb property, because reality is that you wouldn't, let's go back a second to these bonds that Paraguay issued.
By the way, what's the interest rate on the?
Yeah, that's 8.5%. Now, moving a little bit up on a CDA, which is Certificado de Ahorro, it's a fixed deposit, a fixed term deposit. Bueno now is paying 9 or 9.5%, depending on how long you keep the money into your CDA. And those are titles that you can, for instance, sell to any guy without fees, etc. They are quite liquid. And again, you can get 9.5% with the advantage that it's like zero commissions to buy the house, notary fees. Like notary fees are insane. I sold the house for 598 million. I had to pay like 16 million guaranis, which is almost $3,000 just for the notary. That's a lot, honestly. And then you have generally this is on the buyer side, but if you want to get the house sold for a mortgage, the bank asks for 9 million guaranis. That's almost $1,500 to actually proceed with taking care of the mortgage. So starting the case, preparing the paperwork, and submitting it. That's a lot of money. Like useless. Plus, in general, like when you find real estate, you can have all sorts of problems. It can, have a leak somewhere and whatnot. So it reasonably shall pay a premium, considering you're taking more risks and more things can go wrong compared to investing in bonds. But actually on Airbnb, you'd be very lucky to see 9.5% net yield in Paraguay, like very lucky. In Ciudad del Este, you can go up, you can go 12, 13% for the time being, because there's a lack of them for now, but now they are also building a lot, so let's see. And the second thing is, at the end of the day, in Ciudad del Este, if you're not there, taking care of the property will require a property manager who's gonna charge you, and there goes your edge. So, again, we had the government bonds, we had the CDA. CDA, by the way, are covered by the government anyways. There's government insurance on them. You're literally lending money to the bank, and after periodically they pay you interest, and then they give you back the money at the end of the term. And then you have corporate bonds. Corporate bonds are paying 10.5, 11, 11.5% in Guaranis, and they are generally, the issuers here are pretty big. So it can be the phone carriers like Tigo, Personal, etc. It can be the banks themselves issuing bonds. It can be big developers issuing bonds. And again, generally they pay north of 10%. Now, this is also kind of a good time to catch that, because in the last two meetings of the central bank, Paraguay has cut the base rate by 25 points each time. So we're now 50 points below the start of the year, trying to help the exportations, because if the Guarani keeps rallying against the dollar, it's going to be hard to sell the soy, the meat, the electricity, and everything else.
What's the inflation rate right now on the Guarani?
It's 5.5.
5.5, okay.
Yeah, central bank rate.
And to go back to the accounts you were saying, because you're gonna receive rents and saying Guarani, right now the banks, they don't give you much, right? It's pretty basic. I assume you can go see them and demonstrate that you have something going on, and they can raise your minimum wage a little bit so you can receive higher income.
Yes, exactly. The more you can show to have declared in your RUC, the higher the limit on your deposits into the bank.
Do I have to wait to declare my monthly statements, or I can go see them? And, okay.
They have to see that.
You do have
That's what they ask for, the IVA statement, which are the monthly statements, yeah.
So if you want more, you just open multiple bank accounts and you get away with it.
You can go that route, yes. The only thing is that even you can have like 10 different cuenta básica, you still cannot receive money from abroad in a cuenta básica.
No, okay. But if it comes from inside, it's good.
Yeah, it's good, absolutely. Yeah, no problem. Yeah.
Perfect. Good, I had something else, but I forgot it. So, anybody else? Oh,
Finally. I happen to have a private pilot license, a European one, and I'm not sure if it is valid here in Paraguay.
Okay, on that note, I know exactly who will know the answer to this question, who is John, our driver, who also has a pilot license and knows everything about pilot licenses in Paraguay. My take is probably you will have to do something here, because you will need to show somehow that you know the DINAC specific rules. The DINAC is the Dirección Nacional de Aviación Civil, which is the local entity that regulates civil aviation. What I can say is that Paraguay is known to be a country where generally getting pilot licenses requires less flight hours, and it's pretty convenient to get. So people who are into that, I'm definitely not into that. I had to fly in the small plane to Ciudad del Este. I hope that never happens ever again in my lifetime. I also caught a storm on the way back, and it's like, wow, when I saw lightnings everywhere and this little thing, Jesus Christ. It felt like a 70s car with an early 2000 F1 engine, like what was it, the V8 that got up to like 20,000 RPMs. That thing was like 25,000 RPMs regularly. So the noise and the vibrations were all a story. But anyways, he is much more experienced than me, but I can say that people who are into it told me that it's a convenient country to get a license. Like you can get flight hours in for cheap, and the amount of flight hours required, it's pretty low. I know some people who also got the helicopter one told me the same exact thing. Next time you'll fly me.
Like in Europe, at least, you can convert it if you go to another country. Within EU, you can use the same license, but I actually took it in England. And when they went out to the EU, I had to convert it to a Swedish, which was pretty easy.
Is there for a specific agreement? Like, was it in the Brexit agreement, or is it something completely outside of the scope of it and it's just anyone can? I don't know. Like, I would really need to ask John, but he will surely know. I guess I also hear that the civil aviation, in terms of like the private planes, is extremely developed. Hannibal right there used to be in the military and used to jump out of planes, so he can tell more. But there are a lot of private little planes like Cessnas going around, a lot.
Yeah.
It's literally the best way to move around the country. Because if you go to the Chaco, there is no way. There is one route, which is all made of dirt. So if it rains, forget about it. Like
Yeah.
you're stuck wherever you are. And it's a long one.
Yeah.
Going to Encarnacion takes 6 hours, but if you fly there, it's gonna take 1.
Exactly.
Ciudad del Este, you can do it in 4 hours because the route is great to go there, but you could also fly for 1 hour 20, so a lot of people do it anyways. And the farmers, big property owners, they all have their landing sites and they all use their private planes. So it's a very dynamic market. You can find a lot of planes for sale. You can find a lot of schools, a lot of air taxi services. Like there's 7 or 8 different ones competing. And even they told me that all the money, the money carriers that have to bring cash to banks or to currency exchanges and stuff, since these places are so far away and the fresh dollars here are only available at the central bank in Asuncion, they fly the money. So there's a lot of planes just flying full of money around. And that's for that reason, really, that the civil aviation here is way more developed than other sectors generally, and maybe more than in developed countries to some extent.
I think I read that they're building a new airport. Do you know anything about that?
They are doing 2 things. They are converting the Pedro Juan Caballero airport. Pedro Juan is a very unique city. Pedro Juan is in Paraguay and Ponta Porá is in Brazil. Or if you want to say it well, it's Ponta Porá. We'll call it Ponta Porá. And they are divided by a street. Well, you can never know, like if you're in Brazil or in Paraguay, if you're in Ponta Porá or in Pedro Juan Caballero. It's literally, you cross the street, Brazil, you cross the street, Paraguay. In the middle of the city. And right there, they have now, there was a very, very, very small airport. Now it's a significant one, and it became binational. So it became not just for Paraguay, but Paraguay and Brazil. And it's going to have direct flights to Curitiba and other places. At the same time, in Asunción, they are rebuilding the airport. So, I don't know if any one of you has got a perspective of how the airport was even just 1 year ago, and now it is now. But it changed a lot. They will completely renew it for the World Cup. So before 2030, the airport here in Asunción, or better said in Luque, is going to be completely renewed, much bigger, much more modern, etc. But at least already right now, it looks like an airport. It feels like an airport. Before, it was something never seen before, honestly. All the things that are typical of an airport were not there. There was no visa place, no tax refund place, no signs anywhere. Duty free was pretty much empty. No stores, nothing, one bar, one currency exchange. To this day, I think you cannot buy a SIM card at the airport. That's always been the joke with my friends. It's the most obvious business anywhere on earth is selling the SIM cards at the airport. You can buy flowers. There is a flower shop in the airport, but there is no SIM card retailer. But now it definitely has got improved a lot. Also now there is national flights and international flights. Quite an improvement. They separated the 2 things, and now you can read the boarding pass electronically. Before you had to go to a person and she would check the boarding pass before you would be allowed to go through security. So in any airport around the world, generally security is where you queue. In Paraguay, you would queue before to get allowed to enter the security. You had this huge line taking the whole airport, but then passing through security was super fast because only one person every 30 seconds would actually go into the queue. And so it was faster to get out than for another person to join the queue. So one person at a time in the security. But certainly the project of the new airport, if it gets completed, because in Paraguay we had a lot of ventures. We had a metro that was built once. They opened the arteries of the city. digged up a lot, said, sorry, we ran out of money, replaced the ground inside the hole, rebuilt the asphalt, and that's it. Let's forget about ever having said that. And the lake in San Bernardino, every year since I came here at least, I know that there's always this big project to clean it up. Every year is different. Every year we're going to use a different method. Every year there is a different sovereign national entity that's happy to finance the project. And still the lake is unbathable, you know? So when they say that they're going to build something, you have to be like, okay, there's a chance. Then, you know, some, like the Puente de los Héroes del Chaco, the bridge that takes you to the other side of the river now, they built it. The new harbor in Villeta, they built it. The new dry harbor in Ciudad del Este, they built it. The second bridge in Ciudad del Este, they built it. They built the bridge across with Bolivia. So a few projects actually got delivered. Some others did not really. So I can tell you that I am, in a certain sense, surprised by the fact that the airport shall be completely rebuilt before the World Cup, but there is no big, you know, work area around it, because if it, I don't know, 4 years looks like a reasonable plan if you start now. If you don't start now, I mean, what are your chances of actually getting it done? Especially if you look at the rendering, it's supposed to look like the most amazing airport. So that takes time, I guess, but you can't see literally anyone with a shovel in the whole area. So I don't know if they're actually gonna go through with it, or if they just did these improvements they made from last year to this year and be like, you know what, good enough. So any other questions?
Nothing from the chat.
Amazing. I wanted also to ask the guys in front if you have any questions. No? Amazing, guys. Then I say we are free to go get the asado, enjoy some meat, enjoy the evening for those who are going to stay. And yeah, thank you for coming. Also, I'll be available around if you want to go and come and talk to me. I'm very happy to also chat individually to each and every one of you. So, up until next Wednesday for the guys who are following it on. I guess this is all from Asuncion for today, and we'll see you in Paraguay. All right. Can I get rid of the microphone? Lucas? Amazing, thanks.